Imagine for a moment the most powerful family in a fictional American town sitting around a kitchen table, and one of them casually, almost in passing, says the words, "I'll make sure he's gone for good." Now imagine another family member across the table hears those words and quietly says, "Tell me that doesn't mean what I think it does." Now imagine the man who said it has spent years clawing his way back from the edge of opioid addiction, and the person whose life he is threatening is the same man who, only days earlier, saved his. That is not a hypothetical. That is the cold open of what is unfolding right now on The Young and the Restless, and if you have ever watched a soap opera spiral, you already know that when a death threat gets whispered in a darkened room, the writers are not winding down. They are lighting the fuse. Welcome to Soap Pulse. I am Anderson, and if you love every corner of daytime drama the way I do me a quick favor before we dive in. Tap that like button, share this with one friend who still pretends they do not watch soaps, and hit subscribe so the next big twist does not pass you by. The bell is right there, and it takes about 3 seconds. Now let's get into this, because what is coming next week is going to leave you arguing at your screen for days. Let's start with Nick Newman, because the moment his name leaves the lips of anyone inside the Newman empire, somebody on this show ends up in a hospital bed, in a courtroom, or on the run. That is the pattern. That is the family curse. And the spoilers circulating for the week ahead suggest that pattern is about to detonate in a way fans have not seen in years. The setup is this. Nikki Newman has been recovering from a serious medical event, the kind of event that has her walking the new ranch without her cane, counting every step, refusing help even when it would be the reasonable thing to accept. Victor is hovering, protective, sweet in his rare moments of softness, the kind of sweetness that hides something darker underneath, because Victor Newman never does anything without a price and never protects anyone without eventually asking them to owe him for it. So when the storyline teases that Nikki's bandages are about to come off, that is not just a medical beat, that is a hinge. Open those bandages and the entire emotional architecture of the Newman family either collapses or solidifies, depending on what the doctor says. But here is the part that pulled me straight into the story. While the family is bracing for that reveal, while Victor is rehearsing the right words to say to his wife, while Sharon is leaning on Nick and reminding him about everything she has survived, Matt Clark walks back into the picture. And Matt Clark is, in my considered opinion as someone who has watched this show long enough to know better, the most dangerous kind of villain this universe produces. Because he is not loud, he is not theatrical, he is the kind of dangerous that smiles at you across a table while quietly figuring out exactly how much pain you can survive. Now, I want to walk through what the spoilers suggest is actually happening, because the layering here is genuinely impressive, even by daytime standards. Nick and Sharon have had one of those raw, sit on the couch and look at each other conversations that fans of this couple have waited a long time to see. Nick admits he is more worried about Nikki than she is about herself. Sharon tells him about her own battle with bipolar disorder, the daily fight, the unglamorous discipline of staying balanced, and she is basically daring him to do the same kind of work. He tells her he is worried about Matt. Sharon, who is also not thrilled to have Matt around, points out that Matt saved Nick's life not that long ago, and you have to watch her face in that moment because she is doing math. She is calculating. The man they are afraid of is also the man who, in a recent emergency, acted like something other than a monster, and that is precisely the kind of moral complication this show has been building for decades. It is the same trick that worked on viewers when characters like Nicholas himself first entered the story decades ago. You cannot hate a monster who has saved you. You can only resent him, and resentment, when it gets quiet, gets lethal. So Nick and Sharon head over to the shadow room, and coincidentally, that is exactly where Matt is, in a private conversation with Sienna, who is, by the way, caught in the middle of a love triangle that has been telegraphed for weeks. And here is where the writers did something sneaky, because they gave Matt a scene that almost earned my sympathy. Matt tells Sienna that he knows she wanted love from him back in the day, but he just did not have it in him to give. He confesses that he does not trust Victor, does not trust the Newmans, and Sienna asks him directly if he is planning something. He says no. He says he wants to prove he is not the man he once was. He says he is middle-aged now and he wants to build something real. He says she deserves a good man who is going to love her the right way. Read that back to yourself, out loud, because that is not villain dialogue, that is redemption dialogue. And then, right on cue, in walks Noah Newman, hot-headed, wounded, furious, doing exactly what his father would do in the same situation. He spots Matt talking to Sienna, and he loses it. Matt pushes back, says Noah does not get to tell him and Sienna what to do, says they were having a long overdue conversation. Matt insists he is not a psycho. He concedes Noah will never forgive him. He says he wishes people would just let him be. He says, and this is the line that is going to haunt the next 3 episodes, that everybody deserves forgiveness. That is the moment Nick and Sharon walk in. And that is the moment this story pivots from a quiet character study into something much darker. Nick immediately defends Noah, tells Matt he does not get to demand forgiveness, which on its face is fair, which is exactly why this scene is going to divide the fan base right down the middle. Matt, for his part, fires back that Nick's whole approach is pointless. He tells Nick to leave town before Victor puts him in the ground. He leaves, and here is the part that should make every longtime viewer freeze on the couch, because in a real soap family, nobody actually leaves. They just stand outside the door and listen. So after Matt is gone, Nick is left standing there with Sharon, and he tells her he is going to take care of Matt. He does not say how. He says it like a sentence. Sharon tells him he is scaring her. Sharon says the words, and I am quoting them straight from the spoilers that are circulating for the week ahead, "Tell me that doesn't mean what I think it does." That is not a soap opera exaggeration. That is a woman who has loved Nicholas Newman through every relapse, every mistake, every broken promise, hearing him say something she has heard him say before, in darker rooms, in lower moments, when the only thing that could quiet the rage in his head was a bottle and a handful of pills. So let's pause here for a second, because the writers have built a trap and they have set it with the precision of surgeons. The trap is this. Nick Newman, a man who is publicly committed to his sobriety, who has been doing the work, who has been showing up for his mother, for his children, for Sharon, is now staring at a problem that cannot be solved with charm, with money, with Newman's good name, or with any of the tools that have worked for him before. Matt Clark is not a problem that responds to legal threats. He does not flinch at wealth. He does not care about reputation. He has already shown he can be calm where others panic, dangerous where others negotiate, and redeemed where others stay monstrous. And now Nick is sitting across from a woman whose opinion he values more than almost anyone else's on the planet, and she is telling him, in plain English, that he is scaring her. The spoilers suggest that this is precisely the temptation that could send him crawling back toward a pill bottle. Not because of Matt, because of the helplessness, because of the frustration, because of the realization that all his strength, his family name, his money, his sobriety tools, none of it gets Matt out of his head. And right there, in that helplessness, is the doorway back to the thing he swore he would never touch again. Here is what makes this particular storyline dangerous in a way that soap operas rarely are anymore. The writers are not framing the death threat as a heroic moment. They are not giving Nick a soundtrack. They are not making him look righteous. They are making him look trapped. And trapped men on this show do one of two things. They find an exit or they find a substance. The entire week ahead is going to turn on which door Nick walks through, and the cruel genius of the writing is that the audience already knows Matt's position is not entirely unreasonable. Matt saved Nick's life. Matt is trying, in a halting, painful, awkward way, to be a different man. Matt is sitting across from a woman telling her she deserves a good partner and meaning it. And yet, every instinct that fans have spent decades building around the Newman family is telling them that Matt cannot be trusted, that Matt must go, that Matt's presence in this orbit is a kind of slow poison. So when Nick says he is going to take care of Matt, half the audience wants to cheer, and the other half wants to grab Nick by the shoulders and shout at him to go to a meeting, call his sponsor, sit down, breathe, whatever it takes to keep him from making the worst mistake of his life. That tension, that irreconcilable tension between two legitimate perspectives, is exactly the kind of storytelling soap fans have been demanding for years, and we are about to live inside it. Now let's talk about Nikki, because her storyline is, in many ways, the emotional fulcrum the entire week turns on. Nikki Newman has spent the past several weeks recovering from a medical crisis severe enough that losing her vision was a real named possibility. That is not a throwaway plot point. That is the kind of storyline this show has used in the past to completely dismantle and rebuild a character. The spoilers circulating right now suggest that by the end of the current week, Nikki is walking the new ranch with no cane, even tackling the stairs, which, frankly, is the kind of stubborn behavior that fans either love or absolutely cannot stand. There is no middle ground with Nikki on a staircase. Victor is helping her down, and she tells him she needs to know she can do it alone. Victor, in a rare moment of what I would call earned tenderness, leads her to the sofa, gets her a blanket, and asks if she is nervous about the bandages coming off. And Nikki, in a moment of brutal honesty that fans have been waiting for since this storyline began, says she is preparing for any possible result, even a really bad one. She says she doesn't want to feel defeated no matter what happens. She says even if her vision is gone for good, she is going to fight through it. Then she tells Victor something that lands like a punch. She says she misses them, plural, by which she implies she is talking about her children or her old life, or maybe the version of herself that existed before Victor's war with Jack dragged her into yet another round of retaliation. And then she asks Victor if he is ready to talk about their future. His answer, in the spoilers, is to assure her she is safe, which, from Victor Newman, is not the same as saying he loves her. It is the same as saying she is inside his walls. Then Nikki drops the line that, in my opinion, fans will be dissecting for years. She says she is angrier at Victor than she has ever been in her entire life. She asks him, point blank, if his hatred for Jack Abbott is stronger than his love for her. And that question, that exact question, is the kind of question this show has been circling for decades and almost never lets a character actually ask out loud. The implication is enormous. If Victor's hatred for Jack is stronger than his love for Nikki, then everything Nikki has given him, the loyalty, the sacrifices, the willingness to stand beside him while he engineered the torment of her own children, the decades of looking the other way, none of it mattered. It was always going to come second to the war with Jack, and that is a position that no sane, self-respecting woman, especially a woman who has just stared down potential blindness, is going to accept indefinitely. Longtime fans of this couple already know the answer. Victor's hatred outweighs his love across the board. That is not speculation. That is the through line of the entire show. Victor has consistently chosen the fight over the family, the vendetta over the marriage, the war over the woman, and the only reason Nikki is still standing next to him right now is fear. Fear of losing him, fear of being alone, fear of what the alternative actually looks like after all these years. That is what the new ranch, the recovery, the cane, the bandages, all of it is really about. It is about a woman deciding in the quiet dark between now and the bandage reveal whether she is going to keep being afraid or whether she is going to walk away. So what happens next week according to the spoilers? Nikki is in the doctor's office. Victor is holding her hand. The doctor removes the bandages and he tells her it is time to open her eyes. 3 people in that room are going to find out something at the same moment: Nikki, Victor, and the audience at home. If her vision is back, this whole storyline shifts to a different kind of emotional register. If her vision is gone, the Newmans enter a crisis that writers will mine for months. Either way, this is the kind of beat that resets a character's entire future, and right now, sitting in this moment, we genuinely do not know which way the writers are leaning, which, if you have watched daytime long enough, is the most exciting place a fan can possibly be. Now let us pull back from the Newman orbit entirely, because the most underrated storyline of the week is happening on a different street, and it involves 2 women whose names you absolutely need to remember: Diane Jenkins and Traci Abbott. If you have been watching the show closely over the past year, you already know that Diane has been quietly circling a problem that the rest of the family has not fully registered. There is a doctor, Dr. Markham, who had something of an infatuation with Diane, who has now gone missing. He dropped off the radar after a woman named Patty was arrested, and the implication, supported by everything the show has teased, is that Markham realized the walls were closing in. He knew too much. He helped too much. He was too close to whoever was pulling strings in the shadows, and when the net tightened, he vanished. Diane is worried. Diane has been worried for a while. And now, according to the spoilers, Diane goes to Traci with a request that, on paper, sounds reasonable, but in practice is one of the most psychologically dangerous asks a person can make. She wants Traci to help her get in touch with Martin Laurent. Now, if that name does not immediately set off every alarm bell in your soap-loving brain, let me remind you who Martin Laurent is, because this is not a small piece of trivia. Martin Laurent is the sociopathic evil twin of the late Dr. Alain Laurent. He kidnapped, tormented, and psychologically dismantled both Phyllis and Sharon in one of the most disturbing long-running story arcs this show has ever produced. And at the exact same time he was doing that, he was also romancing Traci Abbott, presenting himself to her as his good twin, as Alan. Traci fell in love with him. Traci believed with her whole heart that the man she was building a life with was the gentle, brilliant psychiatrist, not the monster in disguise. And when the truth finally came out, when the mask was ripped off and the world saw what Martin really was, Traci was left shattered in a way that most fans assumed she would never fully recover from. It has been more than a year in Showtime since Traci has had to even think about that man's name, and now Diane is asking her to open that door. Traci's reaction, as teased in the spoilers, is shock. She wants to know why on earth Diane would ever want to talk to Martin, and Diane explains her theory, which is genuinely clever plotting and worth taking seriously. Martin is a psychiatrist, or at least presents as one, and he shares a professional background with Dr. Markham. The psychology books that were sitting in Markham's office, the books that Aaron had been reading, the books that have been referenced across multiple episodes, were written by Dr. Martin Laurent. Markham and Martin shared more than a surname. They shared a discipline, a worldview, perhaps even a network. So Diane's theory is that Martin, despite being locked up in some kind of institution, despite being the worst thing that ever happened to Traci, might be the one person alive who knows where Dr. Markham has gone. That is the gamble. That is the shocking choice. Traci is being asked to face the man who lied to her, manipulated her, broke her, looked her in the eyes every night for months while pretending to be someone else, and ask him for help. Not because he deserves her trust, not because he has earned anything from her, but because everyone else Diane has tried has failed. And Traci's response, based on the spoilers, is heartbreaking in a way that only a long-form soap character study can achieve. She says Martin will not talk to her, but the next words she says are the ones that should send a chill down the spine of every fan in this community. She says Martin might talk to her, not Diane, Traci. Because Traci is the one person in the room who earned a reaction from Martin. Traci is the variable Diane cannot replicate. Traci is the only card left to play, and so the spoilers suggest Traci is going to make a shocking gamble. She is going to go back to that well. She is going to reach out to a man who crushed her, and she is going to do it for the sake of someone she barely trusts, in service of a question she may not even want the answer to, and she is going to do it because the alternative is letting Diane's worst fears win. If that is not the most quietly devastating storyline this show has run in years, I genuinely do not know what is. Because the writers are not asking Traci to be heroic. They are asking her to be vulnerable, again, in the exact same place she was vulnerable before. They are asking her to walk back into a room that she barely escaped with her sense of self intact. And there is no guarantee Martin has changed. There is no guarantee he will not twist this contact into something cruel. There is no guarantee Traci is strong enough, emotionally, to handle a face-to-face without that encounter reopening wounds she has spent over a year carefully, painfully stitching shut. So now let me zoom out, because what is happening across these three storylines, Nick versus Matt, Nikki versus her own future with Victor, Diane and Traci versus Martin Laurent, is bigger than any one of them. It is, I would argue, a portrait of a fictional town at war with itself, where every family has a wound they cannot stop reopening, where every character is standing at a door they swore they would never open again, where every choice made this coming week is going to send ripples across the next several months of storytelling. Nick is staring at the bottle. Nikki is staring at the truth. Traci is staring at the monster. Three women, in different ways, are doing what the men in this show have refused to do for decades. They are stepping up. They are taking the gamble. They are walking into rooms they have every reason to avoid. And the question that is hanging over all of it, the question that I genuinely do not have an answer to yet, is whether the writers are going to reward them or break them. Because that is the thing about soap operas at their best. They do not let good people win cleanly. They let good people try, and then they watch the world push back. And right now, this coming week feels like the moment where the pushing back starts. Nick says he will take care of Matt. Sharon is scared. Matt is talking redemption in one breath and warning Victor in the next. Nikki is about to find out if she can see. Traci is about to find out if Martin can be trusted with anything, even 5 minutes of her time, and every single one of those threads has a different version of victory and a different version of catastrophe, and the audience does not yet know which one the writers are aiming for. That is what makes this week unmissable. Not because something explodes, because something is about to be revealed, and what gets revealed is going to determine for months the emotional direction of an entire fictional universe. Spoilers suggest the writers are stacking their highest stakes. Fans on social media are already split. Belinda at Soap Dirt, who has been tracking this storyline beat by beat, is openly saying she's rooting for Nikki to walk away from Victor, and honestly, after everything that has played out, it is hard to argue with her. The Nikki and Victor dynamic has, for decades, romanticized a cycle of abuse and control dressed up as devotion. The storyline right now, with Nikki's medical crisis and her willingness to question Victor about Jack, feels like the writers finally opening the door to a real reckoning. Whether they walk through it or slam it shut again is the question that will define this week's legacy. So as we head into next week, that is the picture I want you sitting with. A son who swore he would never touch the pills again, standing in a room telling a woman he loves that he is going to handle a man he cannot stop thinking about. A wife who just climbed the stairs without a cane, sitting on a sofa with the man who may love her less than he loves his own revenge, about to find out if she will ever see his face again. A sister, quiet and underestimated, standing at the edge of the worst memory of her life, deciding to walk back in because a woman she does not fully trust needs something only a monster can give. These are not isolated storylines. They are a single story told in 3 keys, and the chord they form is going to ring through every Newman kitchen, every Abbott living room, every shadowy corner of Genoa City for the rest of the summer. Bookmark Soap Pulse right now. Subscribe so you do not miss a single breakdown, and come back tomorrow for the full weekly spoilers breakdown, the predictions, the 2-week look ahead, and everything the fan community is dissecting right now in real time. Because this is not one of those weeks where you skim a recap and move on. This is one of those weeks where, if you blink, you will miss the moment the whole story shifts. I am Anderson. This has been Soap Pulse. We will see you in the next one.